Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I am one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the lore guru himself, Josh Finney. Can't say Lore Daddy.
Yeah, no, Lore Daddy, that's copyrighted by Bife. I don't want to step on his turf.
That's fair, but we still got to come up with a name for you. So Lore Guru is, that's what we're going with.
It's a work in progress.
There's a lot of work in progress things on this show, but that's all right. So some might say the show is just a big WIP, but how are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a busy week.
It's
both,
true.
In and out of game. It's been a very busy week.
Yeah, it's been.
But I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to be here.
Always happy.
We got a lot to talk about tonight.
We do, and we both kind of have. You definitely have a heart out, and I kind of have a heart out. So we're gonna try to get through this as fast as possible. So housekeeping. This is Tower Casuals, Boss Rush Games, Destiny podcast. If you want to subscribe, go to youtube.com/BossRushGames or your podcast service of choice. Josh. The Exodus questline. We're getting right into it. Diving right in. Sparrow first. Sparrow head first. Unless you use that giant butt plug sparrow that I used in the raid last time.
No, I happen to fluctuate between either flying a jet ski or a toaster, so it's all good.
That's fair. I ended up switching over to the Braytech sparrow, the one with like the blue kind of glowing plates on it.
Yeah.
So that's the
I
one.
like that one a lot.
It's the one I'm currently using. I switched between that and the Warmind looking one. So
it might be less abrasive than what you used in Scourge the Past.
That's you know what? It's not bottom heavy. I can tell you that much. So there was a new exotic introduced this week, exotic quest, and then the Exodus quest line. Obviously, I'm still in the middle of that. That's what I'm going to be playing after the show. Try to get that part done. But how are you liking Ruinous Effigy?
Ruinous Effigy is pretty much everything that I expect from a seasonal exotic that's introduced. I feel like Bungie kind of heard some of our feedback. Of course, these weapons are planned months and if not seasons in advance.
Yeah.
But it's awesome that we got genuinely two of the best exotics introduced this year, introduced this season. We'll see if we can go 3 for 3 later on at the end of the Exodus quest line.
The last one is what, the Traveler's Chosen?
The Traveler's Chosen, yeah. The OG sidearm that you start the game with is being made into an exotic.
That's cool.
Just like the Kostov was in Rise of Iron.
Yeah. Hope everybody kept that weapon. I sure did.
Ruinous Effigy is really cool, though. It does something that's pretty unique among Destiny weapons. I mean, in fact, entirely unique. When you shoot enemies with the trace rifle, they turn, and this does work in the Crucible as well, they turn into little purple balls that either you or your teammates can pick up and use as these over-encompassing shields that as you run through mobs of enemies will severely damage, if not outright kill them all. And then you can also dunk the orb for a huge damage blow. That is the definition of a team exotic, I feel. I saw videos of people, Grenader Jake, for anybody who's ever watched him on Twitch, he went flawless using it in trials. Ooh. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen is him getting doubles and triples in Game 7s with Ruinous Effigy. But it really opens up a whole new avenue of playstyle because it doesn't just affect enemies. We found out the other night in the Savathun Song Strike, it actually will destroy the crystals you need to damage.
Oh, really?
If you just if you're holding the orb and you're projecting the aura around you and you walk near the orbs, it'll destroy all the orbs for you too.
Seriously?
Yes. Apparently it'll work with the tethers and Garden of Salvation as well. Mm. So it's very weird. It's not broken. The community has a tendency to say when something comes out and is just absurdly powerful and changes the game, oh my god, this is broken. Wither Horde was broken. Ruinous Effigy is right where it needs to be. I really, really dig this gun, and I hope at some point my game gets fixed and I get to use the Catalyst, which I have technically earned and full did since I have the triumph for it, but it never actually popped in my inventory. So
that seems broken.
Yeah, two thumbs up for Ruinous Effigy, and the Savathun eyes that you're hunting gives you an insane amount of progress on the catalyst. I need 5 more, I believe, just the 5 that are in prophecy to finish that up. Finish up that triumph for both seals, for Forerunner and Moments of Triumph.
Awesome.
So, and that's the quest you're going to go work on after this, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one I'm on right now, actually. So yeah, that's the one I'm doing right after the recording of this show. So yeah, I'm very, very excited because Mitch, our friend Mitch, who we play Destiny with, got it, and he texted me today. He's like, I just got it, and this weapon is insane.
It's stupid fun. When we were all in the Crucible the other night, Nerd Generalist and I were running around with it and just boinking people left and right. And it's momentum control on top of that, so people die in 1 or 2 hits anyways.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate troll gun. If you're dunking on people, you're playing against really bad people, or you're just a really good strategist. There's really no in between. You can't just run up on people and dunk it, usually. They have to be facing away from you, not focused at all. It is really, really, really fun, though. This and Witherhoard, man, Bungie, you've outdone yourselves. These are, to me, they're the coolest exotics you've done all year. This is, well, since Xenophage and Deathbringer, both of those are really cool too. But these genuinely alter the way that you're going to play the game, especially the catalyst for Witherhoard. It's stupid good. It's insultingly fun to use these guns. So definitely recommend everybody go and get that done before the end of the season. Because if it's anything like these other exotic quests, it will go away. Well, this actually will go away at the end of the season, since you have to go to all the planets that are being vaulted.
Yeah.
In order to even earn the gun. So
yeah. So that's kind of the reason why I'm doing it now, because there's still a couple other I want to get. Like tomorrow, we're gonna try to get me Whisper before we raid.
Yes,
which I'm excited for. At some point this week too, I want to try to get Outbreak perfected. Man, both those quests, I can get to the boss room, and then I just fail every time I get there. So, but
these are the first exotics that I really feel like I want to make part of my regular arsenal since Outbreak perfected. I like Deathbringer. Xenophage I tend to use a lot in my heavy slot, but sometimes you just can't beat old spike nades or especially this season swords.
Right.
Falling Guillotine is just, we were doing Spire Stars last night. I was just sorting the boss to death, and we failed the phase, but when we saw the raid report at the end, it said I did like 470k just by myself.
Jeez.
Swinging that stupid sword. With the sword mod you can buy from Drifter's Fun Box this season, standing in a well and having weapons of light, just having all these buffs on me, you could probably 2, maybe 3-man that boss.
Wow.
If you have everybody running the proper mods and nobody's getting booped off. It is stupid good. You should not be able to do that to any raid boss with a sword of all things, but Here we are.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Dude, I can't wait to run some of these raids. Which, by the way, we actually did Scourge of the Past this week. That was like the most fun I've had raiding in a long time.
Yeah, so it's your first Destiny 2 raid that you've actually completed. I want to hear.
It's not. I did.
Oh, wait, I thought it was. Okay.
I've completed Leviathan, just not on Xbox. I did it. We were running it weekly on PlayStation until some of our raid team. Someone on our raid team had a baby, and another one got married, and the other one just stopped playing. So, that's just kind of life. That's just how it goes.
Right.
But yeah, this is the most fun I've had, honestly, since Destiny 1 raiding. Mm-hmm. It kind of felt a lot like Wrath of the Machine in terms of like just the steps and moving through the raid, and then the wall of fire instead of the man crusher thing chasing you. Yeah,
gang, we may or may not have just booted up the Sparrow race without telling the 3 people we were guiding through what was about to happen. And you just see 3 sparrows go zooming past them, and the subsequent screams. That is the hardest I have laughed in so long in this game.
Yeah, well, the thing was, I was like, do I go through the gate? And everyone's like, yeah, go through the gate. But I was going to go through the gate where the fire was coming from, not the 2, like, because like when I said gate, I thought everybody was talking about the one with the holes in it, and then there's the one that actually opens up, kind of like, Jesus Christ's door from the and then I just kind of rode right into the fire, and I was like, oh, I don't think this is where I was supposed to go.
It was definitely an experience, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
That raid is always really fun, especially that portion of it is really fun to do with people who have never done it before.
Yeah.
Mitch got Anarchy.
I know.
Really jealous.
I know.
Really, really jealous.
I know. And then he was like, I don't know if I know how to use this weapon correctly.
It's definitely one of those that you can't just spam. You need to practice a little bit with.
Yeah.
But my friend John, when we did Scourge of the Past for the very first time, he got Anarchy to drop at the end. As our Sherpa is like, hey, did anybody get Anarchy to drop? John's like, I got it. What's Anarchy? And one of our Sherpas promptly quit. I have not heard from him since. He did not add me as a friend after that. The man had like 20-something completions and hadn't gotten it. Our other Sherpa, who's still on our friends list, had like 35 or something and hadn't gotten it. And here's this guy, his first ever raid in Destiny 1 or 2, and gets Anarchy.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of reminds me of, not that I ran a raid to get it, but that reminds me of when I got Galahorn. Like,
yeah.
Remember in Destiny Year 1, when House of Wolves came along, we had this little thing called Prison of Elders, which I honestly kind of miss. But your first time through, you're guaranteed to open the chest and get an exotic. And I got Galahorn out of that chest. It was awesome.
While we're reminiscing, we actually do have a question about Galahorn later on that I'm very excited to address. But I remember getting it the first time we completed a Nightfall. It was the Nexus Strike on Venus. It took us like 2 hours to finish this thing because we were just like creeping through, sniping everything we could, and like just hiding to use special ammo synths. We got to the boss, and instead of going down to the floor, we climbed up into the rafters because we found a spot. If you jumped around enough, you could get to it. Where we were just crouched behind, and after you ran out of ammo, you just ducked back and let the other person come out with that or with their heavy or whatever. Finally kill the boss. Like, we're just sitting there forever doing this. Finally kill the boss, go down there, and I got Galahorn out of it. And one of the guys that used to run with me and my best friend was like, oh, who would ever waste their exotic in the heavy slot? He was one of those guys. Mind you, this had just sold in the tower the week before, the only time it would sell during Year 1.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody thought the same. Nobody was any wiser. It wasn't until we got to Crota, it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. That was the one-way meal ticket for my best friend and I to get invited to any LFG, was him saying that I had Galahorn.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't know what he's doing. We'll teach him. Just tell him when to shoot it. That's all you guys need him to do, right? He's severely underleveled. That's all you need from him. So, yeah, definitely good times. When it came back in Year 3, it was a shell of itself, but it was still one of the best options, which is crazy.
Yeah. It was funny because like we ran Skolas, and I didn't have it yet, and we just ran a regular Prison of Elders because we had failed Skolas because Skolas was a nightmare, especially if you had someone, because this was the old light leveling system, especially because we had one person that was level 31 with us, and we were 32s, and like if that one light level made such a difference, so we just ran some regular Prison, and I pulled it out there, and then we went back and did it. But man, I think it took us like 2.5 hours maybe to do Skolas that night.
Skolas is the encounter where I coined the phrase. I'm sure people used it before me, but that I started using it in earnest. The loser lap, as I call it.
Yeah.
One of our old friends, Chris Kubiak, was taking my buddy and I through it and was like, all right, guys, I'm going to show you what to do. He died approximately 20 seconds into the encounter. And the next 30 minutes was him screaming at us to come get him, us running around in circles with Skolas chasing us. And occasionally, if one of us could get far enough ahead, turn around and take a couple pot shots at his head. This proceeded for quite a while. This is before invisibility or any of that.
Yeah.
We finally were able to pick him up, and there were 3 of us running around like crazy. But it's one of the most bonkers encounters I've ever done. I only ever did it once. I never went back. I still have nightmares about Skolas chasing me.
Yeah.
It's bad.
We ran it just because we wanted to get the moments of triumph.
Yep.
And that was like the last thing we needed was Skolas.
That's the only thing that's the only reason I did it. I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
And then we went back to do it during maybe it was during Taken King. And we just like melted him in like 30 seconds because the light level stuff had changed, and that was such a low level event, and it was just like, oh yeah, remember when we were afraid of this guy? So
yeah, it's funny because I like that you bring that up, because when we did Scourge the Past this week, it was remarkably different from the first time I did it. The first time we did it, I was maybe 100 light above. I was about 2 seasons removed, and Insurrection Prime felt a lot harder to kill there, but we also had like 4 wells popping off, so we were still dusting him even without Whisper.
Yeah.
Just Darcy's going off everywhere. That's all you saw was just Darcy flying.
Yeah.
But no, that's one of the more unique encounters to me. I do like that the raid bosses aren't always just a specific race of enemy. You fight an Ahamkara in Last Wish. You fight a giant mech in this. You fight a possessed Hive Cabal hybrid in Crown of Sorrow. You fight a flying Vex Mind in Garden. There's so many unique encounters that they're starting to do with these. I mean, even Wrath of the Machine, like Axis, was totally different.
Yeah.
Oryx was literally a god.
Yeah.
They've always made sure the scale feels epic enough, and this doesn't feel like it's not like universe-wide implications like every other encounter. This is just, hey, these guys are trying to steal some tech, and they've got a mech. There's Fallen running around with a big old mech out there. They got the rights to mech assault, and they're trying to kill us now. It's just such a cool thing to do. I really, really, really enjoy the Scourge raid. So that makes me happy to hear that you liked it too.
Oh yeah, it was awesome, and like it's like it was a really good raid to get my raid feet back underneath me. You know,
it's a good training wheels raid, is what I like to say.
Yeah.
I personally think it's more friendly to newcomers than the Leviathan is.
Oh yeah, I would say so.
Even at the current light level, I mean, Leviathan is just dirt easy. I still think that this is the most friendly one. So to that extent, I'm upset that it's going away. But I get it. I understand. It's completely self-contained. There is nothing in there that is part of any other raid. Like Crown, at least takes place partly in the Menagerie. There's not a whole lot that was added on to Crown.
Yeah,
like 2 big chambers.
Yeah.
Riven starts out in the Dreaming City.
Yeah.
You're crossing the same bridge. You're crossing a chasm and everything with the patrol area below you. This is completely self-contained. It has a long sparrow race. It has some long mazes. It makes sense why it's getting cut, unfortunately. But everybody go farm it while you can. Go get Anarchy and go and solo Prophecy and tell us all about it.
Yeah. So it was... yeah, like Mitch and I were kind of talking. We were like, this was... Because, like, no offense to our old raid team, but they were pretty sweaty tryhards. Like hardcore. And, like... You know, we were there because, like, I mean, we knew what our job was and we knew how to do it and everything, but like we weren't nearly as hardcore as they were, right? And this just felt really good to get back into a raid, not only just a raid, but like a raid team that kind of is on a similar level as us, I would say, in
Right.
terms of like time and things that we would like to do within the time that we have and everything. So,
I mean, it's like I told you guys when we started. I don't mind when people ask questions. Like, ask all the questions you want. I'd rather you ask a question, like a million of them, before the first encounter or before an encounter starts or after we wipe or something to get clarification, than to go 15, 20 tries and go, well, I'm not really understanding this. And, you being the reason why we failed at multiple times. Like, just ask questions. Like, no one's going to get upset with you for asking a question. We get upset when you don't ask questions. We get upset when you don't flat out say, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I still get confused in Crown of Sorrow. I get confused in, the Vault encounter and Last Wish. Like, I've only done those a couple of times.
yeah.
Scourge, I've only done a few times, but I feel comfortable trying to teach that to someone new at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I know my place in there, and mine is to guide, basically guide everyone.
Yeah. And
I have the complicated job.
I felt really comfortable just protecting up there, to be honest.
The protector is far less important now than it used to be. It used to be absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
In the first encounter, I would still say it's pretty necessary with all the snipers, but the boss encounter,
Yeah.
man, we could almost have you out there just damaging the boss. Things would be shooting me while I'm reading the map, and I'm just like, yeah, I see my health bar is like barely ticking down with each shot.
Yeah.
But when a servitor shows up, okay, maybe I should take care of a servitor or two. But other than that, not bad at all. It's definitely simpler.
Yeah, I think all the fallen that came down from above, I think I was just literally punching them all and then throwing the grenade at the servitor and then shooting it. So
yeah, it's a really, really good first raid. Like, if you're listening to this and you haven't raided because you're intimidated by it, this is a really, really good raid for you to go in and decide, do I want to do more raids or not? Because it does not get much more beginner friendly than this. There's really only, if you're not on the away team, there's really only like 2 encounters. It's the first encounter and the boss. Like, you can pretty much just chill up top if you don't know what you're doing during the pre-boss encounter. Just shoot the servitor when it shows up. It dies super fast now.
Yeah,
I think pretty much all you have to do.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I don't like, even just from doing it once, I think the only thing I'm not sure of is that encounter before the boss when you guys were underground. I think that's the only place where I'm like, well, if I had to go underground, I'm not sure what I would have to do.
It's, again, like, drastically easier now with the higher light level. It was pretty sweaty when I did it.
Yeah.
My first run. Now it's just like, I'm kind of taking like a leisurely stroll down here.
Yeah.
And pop things with shields. Like, that's the only thing that really had to be different was the shields come down from up above. So, like, oh, hey, pop just a handful of those shields and it'll help us out a bit. But all we did on there is just melee a couple symbols each and then come up and get tanks and start shooting.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's definitely more beginner friendly than Spire of Stars, which is the one I'm working on and will be going back to momentarily.
Yeah. Talk about that one for a minute. Like,
Spire of Stars is
I'm so behind on like catching up on raid. Like, Spire of Stars was the one before Garden of Salvation?
Spire of Stars was the final raid of year 1. It was the second raid layer.
Okay.
And the premise is Callus has called us to the Leviathan to help with defeating an invading Cabal force that is seeking to usurp him. Remnants of Gaul's Red Legion, and so we do an encounter to enter the catacombs of the Leviathan, do a very long, weird jumping puzzle while holding a ball. There's a ball, a glowing ball, and you get a greed debuff as you hold it. If it hits 10, you die. Cool. And that's a recurring mechanic throughout the raid, the jumping puzzle, everything. It gets a little wacky. It's pretty fun. During the boss fight, you have to charge the ball and get sent to somebody with a specific buff. The Superior Retainer has to go to space and blow up spaceships with it.
Ooh.
Which is really fun, unless it bounces off because you forgot to charge it on the way up.
Oh.
After you've been at it for like an hour, you're bound to start forgetting to do it. AKA me. That boss fight is just bonkers. It is one of the most chaotic boss fights, I think, in the whole franchise. So the pre-boss phase, you're only having to read out one symbol. You fly up, you read one symbol out, and that's where you have to charge the ball and throw it into that hole. And then you have to get it another ball, charge it, go back to space, and blow the ship up. You have to do that 3 times. During the boss phase, you have to go up. There's 2 ships now. There's 2 balls down there. And the second time when you fly, somebody else has to go up with you, blow them up. You get 3 more balls spit at you, but in varying amounts. You have a timer ticking down this entire time, by the way. But every time you complete a phase, it resets for you. It's this big pillar of blue fire, and as it dwindles, it'll turn red. If it turns red, you're going to wipe. It's basically an enraged mechanic. Once you have all 3 balls and you're juggling them between your team, you can't hold it for more than about 10 seconds, and it takes about 20 seconds for your debuff to disappear completely. You have to peg a robot, which will then break the boss's shield and then do as much damage as you can in like 15, 20 seconds. We may or may not have taken the falling guillotine sword and just beat the ever-loving shit out of the boss, which was really, really entertaining. I was just standing in a bubble wailing on him. But yeah, it's we're hoping to wrap that up tonight. We fell just shy of finishing it last night. It's mechanically, it's one of the harder ones. I'd put it up there with Garden of Salvation in terms of if you don't understand the mechanic, like if even one person is unsure, you're going to be pretty screwed. But it can be fun. It's fun to be the person who goes to space. It's not necessarily fun to be trying to figure out how to coordinate 3 people to throw glowing balls at a robot at once.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds awful, honestly. Trying to juggle the balls to 3 people. Like that's just like, when it kind of reminds me of. It almost reminds me a little bit of the way we were running totems in King's Fall, where like you had to make sure like you were juggling, like somebody was on the plate, somebody was in the middle, somebody was running, like. But
it's almost that exact same mechanic.
Yo, is it okay?
It's very similar to that mechanic. It's just there's so much, and there's so many ads in that part. Like the ads aren't even a problem. It's just even if they're weak, like ads can become overwhelming. And there's four outside plates. There's 3 inside ones. You have to remember what part of the encounter do you go to certain ones. When do you start booking it to the back to line up in what we call the demented conga line?
Oh, jeez.
A ball gets spit out when you clear the first wave of ads at the very beginning, and if you don't pass the ball between everyone and throw it at the boss in like 15 seconds, you all die. And it randomizes what side of the room it gets shot to when it does it. So yeah, we call it the demented conga line because you have to be facing somebody to receive it, and then you have to turn and throw it. So it's just boop, 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 all down the line.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely an interesting raid for sure. One of my favorite jumping puzzles, I think, in Destiny.
Yeah, I used to be scared to death of jumping puzzles, and then when we were running King's Fall, everybody was having such a hard time doing the jumping stuff, and so I know we need to get to Lore Corner, but there was an area in the back of the Dreadnought, kind of where you like the platforms would become invisible. Right, and then you had to jump on the invisible platforms, and I think there were chests on each side, or there was a chest somewhere.
That made me get good at it.
Yeah, I literally went and did that for like a half hour before we raided one night just to get my jumping feet under me, and it changed. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it got me into jumping in Destiny. So
after doing the Whisper mission in Destiny 2, I haven't feared a jumping puzzle since.
Yeah,
because it's literally gotten to the point where I can just eyeball where I'm trying to land, and I just dive off the side. I love doing it with people who've never run Whisper before or never completed. They're like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Wait for it!" Like, 'cause I'm just like plummeting down, and then boop, boop, and I'm on the platform that I need to be. You're insane! Like, I just skipped the entire wall of dicks. I just skip it.
Yeah,
you just dive off Assassin's Creed style and hope for the best.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna actually pivot into Lore Corner because we actually only have about 10 to 15 minutes left. So, Josh, hit me with some sweet lore.
All right. right, today's Lore Corner, it's going to be a two-parter. We're going to talk about two of our favorite Fallen buddies, kind of pick up where we were last week with Aramis. We are going to talk about Variks first. Variks, the Wise, whatever you want to call him. For a quick refresher for anybody who didn't play Destiny 1 or hasn't booted it up in a while, Variks was the vendor for the Prison of Elders event that Corey and I were talking about earlier. He used to serve under Skolas, and Variks is pretty unique among the Fallen. He is one of the oldest of his species, if not the absolute oldest, that is still living, because he remembers when the Traveler abandoned his people, the Elksini. He remembers when that happened. They call it the Great Whirlwind. So he's been around for thousands of years at this point. The Traveler abandoned them before it came to humanity. And they pursued the Traveler across the galaxy. Variks doesn't hate humanity. In fact, he's actually a little bit jealous of us because the Traveler chose us. It abandoned his people and devastated his species. His entire house, the House of Judgment, was wiped out in the ensuing conquering quest, I guess you could say, of the darkness, of the space Doritos that we're seeing this season. So he seeks to return the Fallen to their former glory and believes pretty heavily in their messianic prophecy of the Kell of Kells, the Fallen leader that is destined to unite all the houses, which Skolas thought he was and was seeking to, but we prevented him in the House of Wolves. There's been other people. Aramis is the latest one trying to do this, to be Kell of Kells or to really form her own house, the House of Dusk. Variks was aligned with the House of Wolves for quite a long time, kind of fell in with Skolas and them. Skolas sought to humiliate Variks, though, and removed his arms. Removing arms from a Fallen demotes them to a dreg, but he removed different arms from them in order to make it to where Variks has mechanical arms now on the top. He's kind of a hybrid. He's an outcast among even his own people. And when Skolas decided to attack civilians, Variks drew a line in the sand and said, I'm not doing this, and met with Uldren's crows, Uldren's spies, and he defected to the reef with the few that were still loyal to him. That led to the capture of Skolas and set in motion eventually the events of the House of Wolves. Following the presumed death of Uldren Sov, Variks assumed control of his spy network in order to try and find the Kell of Kells himself. Variks would later supply information to the Vanguard during the events of Rise of Iron on the efforts to resurrect Tanyx and Sepix Prime, as that was seen as a blood magic of sort to the Fallen. That was heresy to embrace this technology to resurrect fallen gods, essentially. Variks did attempt to warn the city of the approach of Gaul's Red Legion, but as they passed through the reef, Gaul knocked out all communications from the reef, so Variks basically had to watch in horror as the city was assaulted. He sent a desperate last message to the Cosmodrome, urging the Fallen to flee, trying to save whatever's left of his people. We decimated him pretty hard across the system in Destiny 1. His efforts somewhat succeeded, but he just watched in horror as this happened. He was unable to hail Petra or anybody to try and warn us of what was happening.
So are the Fallen kind of like an endangered species almost then?
Considering we fought them on every planet and in the majority of strikes in Destiny 1, I would personally say they are. They've kind of taken a back seat in Destiny 2 so far. We really haven't. We've had only like 2-3 strikes that have focused on them. We've had one raid, few missions, but this expansion this fall is really the first time we've dove into the Fallen since they were taken over by Siva in Rise of Iron. It's been nice to have a change of pace. Yeah. And I'm really excited. We're getting to the last part of Variks' story here, and where I think it gets really juicy personally. We learned this through the Variks the Loyal lore book that we can earn through the events of Forsaken and On the Tangled Shore, that he becomes conflicted over his duty as the warden of the Prison of Elders and his duty to the Sov dynasty, to Uldren and Mara. And eventually, when Uldren is wreaking havoc across the reef, he's captured by Petra, Cade 6, and a team of Guardians, who then bring him and the Scorn in through a secret entrance and lock him up. He recognizes the leader of the Scorn, Fickrell, the fanatic, as a former friend of his. They actually had a falling out years and years ago, like literally 200 years ago in the storyline. Variks eventually decides he needs to get out of here. He needs to leave the prison. He wants to unite what's left of his people and save them. So we learned through that lore book, he engineers the escape of Uldren and the Scorn Barons. That is Variks' doing. It was all a ruse for him to be able to escape unnoticed, knowing that the Reef would be more worried about capturing Uldren and the Scorn than watching Variks and his loyalists flee. After this, he declares himself the Kell of Kells, decides he's the Messiah, essentially, and just disappears off everyone's radar. That's the last we had heard of him was back during the events of Joker's Wild in a little lore piece that he had just disappeared. Petra was unable to find him. Ikora's spies, the Hidden, wanted him assassinated, wanted him killed. They hold him responsible for Cade's death. And Petra pretty much fought the city on it and said, no, like he is awoken, like he is under awoken jurisdiction. And the latest that we know is that he's been seen on Europa in the company of Aramis, but whether he's an ally or a hostage is yet to be determined. So definitely expect to see some Variks this fall. I would wager on him probably being the planetary vendor, in all honesty. I don't think Variks is turning his back on us. He respects the Guardian.
I can't wait. I like Variks. He's definitely one of my favorite characters from Destiny, and
he's one of your favorites. I totally agree. I love Variks. There's another Fallen that has stolen my heart, though, Corey.
Oh boy, who's this?
This is my boy Mithrax. Mithrax, we are actually introduced to during the vanilla Destiny 2 storyline. In one of the adventures on Titan, we have an option to kill or spare a fallen captain, and there's really no effect on your choice there. You can kill him or spare him. It doesn't make a difference. It's revealed in the events of Forsaken that the canonical choice was to spare him. He was humbled by us sparing him. Like, why on earth would a Guardian spare a fallen captain? And he sought to learn our ways. He teamed up with the Awoken for a while. He was shown the Dreaming City by Sigiridu, one of Mara's paladins. He's shown the Dreaming City, and after that makes an alliance between the Awoken and actually joins a fire team of Guardians.
Ooh.
For a while. He runs with the Guardians and declares a new house within the Fallen, the House of Light. Mithrax the Forsaken establishes the House of Light, acknowledging that humanity is the true recipient of the Traveler's power. The Traveler never blessed the Fallen like he did humanity, or like it did humanity, not he, like the Traveler did to humanity, and decides that from this day forward, we are allies to the humans. We have to serve the Traveler's chosen. We are allies with them. Mithrax is the one who gives us the quest for Outbreak Perfected. He warns us of a heist that is happening that was organized by Aramis herself on the old tower. Mithrax, at the beginning of that mission, the fallen captain that takes out the Dreg that you see right away, That's Mithrax. That's our boy. He's been hiding at the farm for whatever reason. He's just allowed to hang out, some Pop-Tarts, whatever he's been doing. And then at the end of the mission, he just as mysteriously shows up, basically gives us Outbreak, and takes off again.
You think Mithrax is a cinnamon Pop-Tart guy or like a strawberry Pop-Tart guy?
Mithrax strikes me as a cookies and cream kind of guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's mixing it up. I think he likes to take it, break it apart, dunk it in some milk. I think he's really after that diabetic lifestyle.
You think he toasts it, or you think he just eats it cold?
Oh, eat it cold all the time. Cold, baby.
Yeah, well,
but
that's going to be a new shirt.
Hasn't been seen.
That's going to be a new shirt up on our store. The Mithrax dunking some Pop-Tarts and some milk.
Oh, dude, I would wear that every day. He hasn't been seen since then, nor has he really been mentioned until this past season. Osiris asks Saint 14 to meet with Mithrax in the House of Light to extend an olive branch to them, essentially. And Saint 14 is very wary of it. Saint 14 does not like the Fallen. In case you don't understand that, he hates the Fallen. When he knew the Fallen, they were all savages 700 years ago. Mm-hmm. He fought at Twilight Gap when they tried and almost successfully assaulted the city at Twilight Gap and the Battle of Six Fronts. He doesn't think too kindly of them, but he agrees to do it because Osiris asked him. With the resurgence of now Aramis's faction wanting to go to the House of Darkness, declaring themselves House of Dusk, whatever, after she was trying to reform the Devils, it would stand to reason that both Mithrax and Variks are going to show up in pretty strong capacity this fall. We're long overdue for Mithrax to take a starring role, and it's very reminiscent of the Arbiter in a lot of ways, but it's also, if it's done correctly, I think it can be a more impactful story than the Arbiter's was. This is a guy who literally, he calls himself the Forsaken because he's been cast out of his own people. Mm-hmm. It's a very moving tale in the lore, and I encourage you guys to go look up both of these guys, read the lore surrounding both of them. It's especially Variks. I mean, his stuff goes all the way back to House of Wolves. You know, there's so much there, and there's a little bit. So he got an entire lore book, even though he's not in Destiny 2 to this point, at least. So there's definitely a lot there. Next week, kind of up in the air about which one I want to do. We're either going to tackle the Curse of the Dreaming City, or we're going to tackle the Trials of Osiris lore, because both have a pretty good amount of relevance. The Dreaming City, not necessarily so much, but it is good to have a refresher on why that curse is still going, and how they made an attempt to beat the curse, according to something in lore, power level 999. They actually made that canon when somebody tried to do it. So we're going to talk about those efforts at some point in the next couple of weeks.
Nice. Well, there's your...
it's more like a lore room, I think. I think it grew from a corner into like a lore office.
It's right. We're going to have a lore mansion by the time this is all done.
Quite possibly. This is part 2 of like a 10-part series right now. So
yeah. I'm just saying, it's we're going to build a house here. So plus, like I said, I'm trying to break out all the lore stuff from our discussions and kind of put it in its own little section on the website and the YouTube page. So hopefully you guys check that out. But Josh, I know you got to go raid. I got to go grind for this weapon. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to Tower Casuals podcast. It comes out on your podcast service every Thursday on your podcast service of choice. You can subscribe.
I do want to mention real quick, and not to cut you off, I do want to mention real quick, we had a couple questions this week. We're going to tackle those at a later date. We did not forget your questions. I have them written down. We're waiting for kind of a more appropriate time to bring those up, because we are going to talk about Gallarhorn and the Cosmodrome a bit more coming up in a few weeks, and that's when we're going to address that question. And then we had one about transmogging and collections, which I did not feel like we could sufficiently get an answer in a 24-hour span, really.
Yeah.
So definitely want a little bit more time to formulate an articulate answer on that one. But those are coming. We did not forget your questions, guys.
Yeah. Also, you can follow Tower Casuals on Twitter now. It's just at Tower Casuals. Also, I want to shout out and let everybody know that we're going to probably start having a rotating third chair pop in and out maybe every week, every once in a while. So just to let you guys know, Josh and I just kind of wanted to clean up the rest of this before we got back into a third member on our fire team here. So Spooklight, Nerd Generalist, Colonel Panic, Mitch, we're not forgetting about anybody. Just wanted to...
Anyone, Johnny? We're thinking about you.
Yeah, just wanted to shout everybody out and make sure we aren't forgetting about you. We're gonna get you. We're getting you here. So, but yeah, follow us on Twitter at Tower Casuals. Subscribe to our podcast on whatever service you listen to podcasts on. You can watch us on YouTube on Thursdays on the Boss Rush Games YouTube channel. Josh, where can we find you?
You can of course find me as always on Twitter at Josh_Finn. It's Finn with 2 N's. Follow me for Destiny lore goodness, me raving about my favorite guns, and talking about the latest movies that I've watched. Y'all should all go watch Palm Springs on Hulu. That's my shameless plug. Go watch it. It's my favorite movie of the year.
Nice. You can find me at I am CoreyNHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at CoreyNHD on Twitch. You can follow us there, and also check out all of our content and our podcasts on BossRushGames.com. Like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. Remember, guys, play games, be better, and we will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.